if I were to just to ask one more question, I guess still, I think you're addressing a lot of the geopolitical events in the past and continuously these impact on the global scale. But oftentimes, whether or not we're living in Hong Kong or Japan or Taiwan or whatnot, our immediate concerns is what goes on around us. Okay, how do you bring peace education on that big macro geopolitical level that oftentimes requires a bit of knowledge and understanding for especially younger people, down to something that they can actually feel? You talk about human feelings, and feel and taste and know the importance of it, so that they would really feel committed to continue with this mission. And maybe you can share a little bit, like I just met you at lunch earlier. I asked a question, why are you doing this, right? I mean, you also grew up in a peaceful time, post-war Japan, right? You had an actual experience where why are you doing what you're doing with so much conviction and commitment?
So when you ask the audience that how many of you experienced war, I thought, the definition of the experience of war matters, In a sense, I haven't experienced war that my country is directly involved, or my house or my town being bombed, or my family members having going to go to battle and so on. For that meaning, I do not have any experience of war. But in my life, for example, there's a series of US war on Iraq since my university time. And for such military affairs, the government has at least indirectly participated in that. And we taxpayers are part of that, contribution. So in this world, is it really possible that you are kind of, you do not have any relationship with the ongoing war, So in a sense that we are experiencing a war. And the reason why I say is that I started this kind of peace activism during my university time, when the US started the Gulf War in 1991. And it was just a couple of years after I traveled, just as a tourist, individual tourist, in the Middle East region. And that time, as a tourist, I do not have any particular ideological background, but I was really lucky to see the people in the Middle East region. That time, it was very soon after the Iran-Iraq war that continued for about 8 years. So I saw the devastation and people still suffering. But at the same time, they really warmly welcomed me as a very strange Japanese traveler, walking in the street of Tehran, for example. So those, how to say, feeling or kind of a distant friendship with the people in the region, and the very fact that people in the region is under heavy attack of the military conflict, just really naturally mobilized myself, So the reason I'm continuing Peace Boat is that it's really good way to, to personalize world affairs. If you have visited some place in actual sense, then it will become a part of yourself. So if there's some serious problem in the country that you visited, your feeling will be quite different from that just you seeing on those world affairs on TV or on smartphones, So that kind of connectedness is really matters, I think.
All right, so I guess we'll open up the floor for any questions, comments. The floor is yours. Yes, please. Do we have a microphone? Yes. And maybe you can quickly introduce yourself and then raise the question. Thank you so much.
Okay. I'm a person just retired from my job career 2 years ago. And now I'm associated with an organization also having the same goal as ICAN with pursuing blessings and peace for the mankind. I have one question. It's very impressive that you listed those 122 countries supporting the treaty on the prohibition of nuclear weapons. Yet, regretfully, those countries having nuclear weapons today, including United States, Russia, France, China, and so forth, they are not in the list. And I would like to know, and also how about your comments on what ICAN's approach, or how will ICAN do to make some influencing power on those countries so that they will abandon or abolish their nuclear weapons eventually, someday.
Yeah, thank you very much. So very good, important point, yes, treaty was adopted, but those who have nuclear weapons are out of the treaty. So how we can make change? It's a very typical question to be asked. Even without the participation of nuclear armed states, as of today, by having a treaty to provide nuclear weapons are illegal and nuclear weapons are bad and inhumane, we can create political, economic, and social pressures on nuclear weapons and on nuclear armed states. For example, having provided that nuclear weapons are illegal in any circumstances, it will be politically very difficult for any government leaders to decide to use nuclear weapons. So nuclear weapons becomes a non-usable weapon. And again, at the time of global era, one atrocity would be spread for the whole globe instantly. You can't use such terrible weapons. And then economically, the wise government leaders will think of, is it relevant to keep these weapons despite the fact that it cannot be used? Keeping those nuclear arsenal requires money. That is why ICAN is working on banks now. And we are asking them to divest from nuclear weapons producing companies. And it has been successful. And already over 30 banks worldwide decided to divest from nuclear weapons producing companies. And this is a very similar approach that campaigners did in cluster munitions or landmines. Those weapons are now established as inhuman and illegal weapons. So the banks, financial institutions helping those production will be seen as inhumane act or illegal act. So in this way, at least we can create economic pressure on the maintenance or development of nuclear weapons. And finally, and social pressure is just like Pope Francis made a strong remark. Religious or social awareness on the illegality or inhumanity of certain weapons would become a strong pressure for the governments for retention of those weapons. And of course, it will take a long time for any of the current nuclear armed states to abandon those nuclear weapons. But we have a good example and test case on the Korean Peninsula. At least the smallest nuclear armed states, DPRK, North Korea, is now seriously negotiating about this dismantling of nuclear weapons. So if it comes successfully, then it will be a good model for others, other governments to follow.
Thank you. Are there other questions from the audience? Yes, please, this lady.
Thank you very much. This is Serena Chen. I'm working for NGO for International Development here in Taiwan, but my personal interest is disarmament campaign and humanitarian laws. And I have a question regarding to the peace education. Thank you so much for your wonderful presentation and sharing of experiences. My question is more about how to motivate our public or younger generation to take action. I think it's wonderful that we bring the importance of empathy and how we educate, how we share this knowledge, but the next step, like how especially in peace movement or disarmament campaign, how we mobilize those people who already empathize with the issues to take action. Especially we emphasize on like nonviolent method, etc. And it's not easy to get the attention of the media if you are taking this like non-confrontational approach. So would you give us some like very concrete examples or suggestions? Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I think setting a doable medium-term goal is very important. You know, fighting for a peaceful and nuclear weapon-free future is a very general long-term goal. You know, so it's too big for people. You know, so to become a successful campaign, I think setting a goal, like in the case of ICAN, creating a new treaty to prohibit nuclear weapons has been a major goal that was achieved 2 years ago. But it took about 10 years to come to the goal. But it was achievable, achievable goal, and it was achieved. And now, many campaigners of ICAN around the world are promoting its signature and ratification by the governments. And also, in cities, local municipalities, we are promoting the mayors or municipalities or local assemblies express support for the treaty or for the goal of Operation Nuclear Weapons. You know, all those actions are kind of feasible and achievable setting. So that's very important. And without those setting and just try to just repeating the big goal like complete peace and complete nuclear free may distract people's attention. So that's the I'm not I can't recommend you a specific example for the Taiwanese context, which I think you can consider, but some clear goals that people in Taiwan, in partnership with the local authority or others, that will be very important.
Can I just take this opportunity to also raise a very quick supplementary question? So say, I know that actually we have a number of even high school students here with us today, or maybe online looking at the live stream, and also their teachers. They unfortunately don't have the time or the means to get on Peace Boat at the moment. Maybe in the future, if someone wants to implement some kind of curriculum or teaching in their classroom next semester on peace education, where do they start? Like, if I'm to ask you to design like a two months long curriculum for Taiwanese students in high school, what exactly would you cover?
Well, there are quite a number of examples in some schools in Japan, and also on the ICAN website we have a peace education and disarmament education's program already up there, and but if you think of some kind of curriculum for a semester or for some months, combining some sort of exposure session to those affected by wars or conflicts or violence. That's a very essential component. And to learn about the structure that made those problems happen. And finally, discussing about the solution, better change, Those will be a major component in a kind of a curriculum. And in the case of Peace Board Global University, we have several steps, to learn from the reality and to feel from the reality and to know and understand why this happened, and then to understand how you are connected to the issue, and finally to discuss and train skills to make change. I think these 5 steps are very important. And also in Peace Board experience, it's very important for such a peace education program that always you need to have that your classroom or discussion place a safe place that anyone can say anything. This is a very difficult part, and sometimes very strong vocal boy or girl sometimes may have some sort of domination in the classroom, which is very counterproductive, particularly for this kind of peace education.
So kind of experiential learning, right, to learn and to feel, analyzing the causes of conflict, and I think what you mentioned, creating a linkage with us, with the local context, and having the skills for solutions, I think as that lady was raising. Thank you.